Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. In this video we'll be building AI agents in JavaScript and TypeScript, and we'll be using Vercel's AI SDK to do that. And we are going to be covering the introduction, which will mean that we'll set up the LLMs and run some inference on them. So we'll be using Vercel's AI SDK, and this basically is something like LangChain in Python but for TypeScript, which allows you to just do a lot of things like tool calling and logging. So we'll be using this, and we'll also be integrating it into the front end, which is very easy with this because Next.js is also created by Vercel. And we'll be using Google Gemini for doing all the inference. You can use OpenAI, but Google Gemini is free, so we'll be using that. To start, we'll open up our code editor to a directory where we want to work, and in that directory we are gonna start by installing a few things. So we'll start by installing a few things using pnpm, but before you do that you need to check if you have Node. So just type in node-v and npm-v. If you get two versions and no errors, that means you have both installed and you can start working. So I have both installed and I also have pnpm installed. So I'll start using pnpm instead of npm, but whatever I'm doing, just replace the pnpm with npm if you want. So I paste this in, and this is basically to install a few things. So we are installing the AI SDK from the npm registry, and instead of installing at AI SDK OpenAI, we'll be installing at AI SDK/Google, and except that we are installing zod.env script, so we'll run that, and this should take some time to install, and it's done. So after that's done, you can create an env file. So for example, I have a .env.example here, so let me open that. And basically this is the example env, and you'll find a Google generative AI API key over here, and you paste in your API key. To get your API key, open up Google's AI Studio. So just type in aistudio.google.com and get API key. After you've done that, you can create a new API key if you haven't already, or you can use an existing. So after you've gotten your API key from Google's AI Studio, you're going to put this into your .env in Cursor, or like whichever code editor you're using. So it will look something like this, where you have Google Generative AI API key, and you can use this specific one. I suggest you do, so that you don't need to actually edit the API key's name in your code. So just use this one, and the SDK will directly pick it up and put in whatever secret key you got. So if it's secret key 1234, you just paste it in like that. So after you've done that, save it. And so all of this code will be uploaded on GitHub, and I'll put the link in the description. Create a tsconfig.json file and put in all of this, which you will get from my GitHub. I'll also put it in the description, but just put all of this, because then when you're writing the TypeScript code, it will know. For example, top level awaits are only supported in things like ES Next or ES 2023. So I'll create a new file called introduction.ts. So in this introduction file, we'll be running inference on Google's Gemini models. We are using Gemini because it's free, but you can use any model you want, and I'll show you how to change providers. But first, we have set up an API key, and we want to get it into the file. So how we'll do that is we'll import .env, and then after importing .env from .env, and then we'll run .env.config and save that, Google, and then from at AI SDK/Google, and also import generate text from AI. And if you're getting a few errors, just type in restart TS server, and remember to take this tsconfig JSON from my GitHub, because otherwise you might get errors that are not seen in the video because you don't have the tsconfig JSON. So let's start by running a little bit of generation. So we'll create a function, and look, it's asynchronous, and we'll call this generate. And so what we'll do is we'll get in something, and we'll call the generate text method on this, and inside that I'll type in model, and we want to give it Google, so Google, and then you just put in brackets, and then you have a lot of options to choose from. I'm going to just choose Gemini 2.5 flash, and then you just give it a prompt. So a prompt is a question or any statement that you're giving the model, and then the model will keep predicting the next word. So after you've given that, you want to take out text from this. And the reason I'm now getting text in my type support is because this is also asynchronous. So I'll have to await and then get out the text. And after I've done that, I'm just going to return the text from this function, and then console log text and create a variable text which calls this generate method. So this is our basic first hello world inference for Gemini. Let's run this. So the way we'll run this is just npx tsx. So tsx is TypeScript execution, and then run introduction.ts. And okay, so the reason it didn't work is because I forgot to await generate. So if I run that, and now we get hello, how can I help you today? So let's change the prompt. Let's make it something like write a short story about Bob, and then run that. So again, it'll call the Gemini API, and it'll start predicting words. And as you can see, we are waiting for a lot of time before the model actually responds. This is because we are not we are waiting for the whole response to be generated before printing it, and we'll see how to fix that. But it's generated as sort of a story. But right now we waited for some time before we could see the result. So what if we just keep streaming the results, and we don't have to wait for the model to finish all its response? So what I'll do is I'll start and import a new function. Instead of generate text, I'll import stream text, and then all you have to do is just const, again just call stream text, and just put in a await over there, and then you have to give it like an object, and inside that object give it a model. And so again, it'll just be Google, and then Gemini 2.5 flash, and just give it a prompt. So again, let's say write a short story about Bob. So we've given it the model and the prompt. Then we can get in a part called stream and text stream. So this text stream will just keep giving us part like in a list which will keep updating. And so for await, and then const chunk of text stream, and we'll console log that chunk. So basically what we are doing is we're getting like chunks of these text streams. So the different parts that it's sending small bits of the whole response and not sending the whole response together. And if we just see this run, we'll see that after it starts after it takes in the env, we'll be getting small parts together. So as you can see, we don't get the whole story together, and we get like different parts. This isn't well formatted because we are using console log on each chunk, so it's creating a new line, but it is streaming it. So we are getting like this is one chunk, and then this is another, and then this. So instead of waiting for the whole response to finish, we are getting it in small bits. So that was the introduction video for this tutorial, and that's it for this one.